This video is going to be about network traffic analysis, and those of you that aren't in my class and want to see the whole story here, there's going to be a few places where you probably won't have access to what's going on. So I'm just going to dive right into this for my students, and the rest of you hopefully will understand. All right, so first things first, I need to be connected to my Azure machine. So let me just bring this up here. I'm going to just slot that in so it fits in the window here. Get this in the right spot. Give it a second to adjust its resolution. So here's our Azure machine. What I'm going to do first is actually let me minimize this. I'm going to go into Edge first. I'm actually going to connect to our class web page. So of course this is the first time I'm on here and I don't need to deal with this stuff. So we're going to do this and do this, not bring over anything and not do that either. Just going to start using some stuff and I don't need a theme, and so we're done. So this should be basically the same as what you deal with. Since we're at app state here, I'm going to go to as you learn. I'm going to sign in. So I can log in here. I'm going to use my login name. You would, of course, use yours. Hopefully I have my right password. And I'm going to have to duo authenticate here. I'm going to do a never save here. I'm going to get my duo going just like we do for normal stuff here. We'll take a second for that, and we're good. I'm actually going to remember this because there are times when I need to be in my Azure machine and be able to see my as you learn. So yours will look different. We are actually going to might as well be under here. I am on the network traffic analysis exercise, and I'm just going to really quickly show you. I'm doing this tutorial, so I'm going to open this in a new tab really quickly. So this is what we're doing. I'm just going to close this out. You're actually not going to see this because I'm going to be switching to some other stuff. And I also need to make sure I get this traffic analysis packet. So here, when I want to just download a file, I need to save link as. I am okay leaving this in my downloads folder. Notice I'm in my downloads folder here, and I'm going to save it. Now when I go to open it, I'm going to go to the folder here, and I will just tell you right now, when I go to open this, when I double click, it used to have a password on it. Let me go back up. I need to right click here, and I need to do a 7-zip and just do an extract here, because I just want it right here. The password for this, I believe, is infected, all lowercase. Let me just see if that works. And it did, so we're very excited here. I'm actually just going to delete this other one while I'm here and have that be gone. All right, so I'm going to be over here. Notice this says a Wireshark tutorial, and we need Wireshark. So I'm going to open a new tab here, go to do a Wireshark download. And I just hit this download button. Nice thing about these Wireshark folks is I think they know what they're doing. All right, so notice here it has Windows and Mac versions. I'm on a Windows, I think I'm on an ARM64. No, I'm not. I'm on an x64, good grief. I think I would know this. On Mac OS, if you're on an M1, M2, M3, M4, or so on, otherwise it's this one, otherwise it's this one. I'm on a Windows x64. I'm just going to download that right here. Always give it a full second to do its business. Now here I can just open file, and this will open the installer for Wireshark. There are two parts of this, and we'll see that in a minute. I need to note this first. I'm going to hit next. This is all normal stuff. I do want a Wireshark start menu item. In a way, I might want the desktop icon too, but I'll just leave that as is. Downloading it to Wireshark, and that's great. when you have this checked, and we are going to have this checked because we have to capture live network data later. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to hit next. And then I don't need that one. I'll hit install here. What's going to happen is there's actually going to be 2 installers open. Let's give it a second here to think about it. Okay, and notice here I have an npcap set up too, so we have to agree to this. We don't want to check any of these, and then I can just hit install. Or for our purposes, we don't need to do any of those. But there's sort of 2 installers running, by the way. If you notice down here on my taskbar, I got 2 installers running. All right, that's very exciting. Setup was completed successfully. I hit next. It's been installed. I finished that one. And now we're back to Wireshark. So this, again, is totally normal. And then setup there was completed successfully. I don't need to look at the release notes. I'm just going to hit finish. Okay, so now let me go back to my downloads folder. I'm just going to pop this open over here. Notice here now these PCAP files are associated with Wireshark. Okay. Now I'm going to open Wireshark. Oddly enough, I don't think it adds very well. Oh no, there it is. There's Wireshark right there in my start menu. And what I want to do here is I'm just going to note here, you can see there's Ethernet 2, remember back when we set up everything. Notice there's also WAN switch is in here. You'll notice that LAN switch isn't on here, and that's because the way I set this up is that LAN switch should be invisible to you. We're not actually starting our VMs anyway. I'm going to click here on Ethernet 2. I'm going to actually double click. I can double click here to start a capture, or I can hit the little fin to start a capture. So I'm going to double click though on Ethernet 2, and now this is, you can actually see all the traffic going by. I'm just going to do a really short demo here of what happens in Wireshark. I'm going to put that up in the corner. I'm going to zoom this down a little bit so we can see it going by. I'm done with the Wireshark page. I'm done with that. We're going to get to this in a minute. But for 1 second, I'm just going to show you what's going on. I'm going to go to this website. This is an old website I set up a long time ago. What is it called? girlsgeekout.org. I think it's right here. Yes. So it says type your first name and your last name. I'm going to put in my first name and my last name and hit submit. Okay. Now it says your name is Russell Haynes. That's very exciting. By the way, this is not secure, which is that it's running in clear text. It doesn't really say it here, but it is. This is in clear text, and we're about to see that it is in clear text over here. So I'm going to hit stop over here. So I got tons of packets. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit so I can see a little better. And I'm going to note right here, this section over here where the hex is, I don't need this. I'm going to scroll this over so I can see the other section really well. It's still there if I really want to see the hex, but I don't want to see it, so I'm just zooming it away. All right, there's way too much stuff in a Wireshark capture to possibly be thinking about analyzing it on your own. A lot of times you'll get sort of these canned exercises that'll have just relatively little data in them. But a typical capture, I mean, this is just one computer listening to itself, and this is all the stuff that happens. So there's a ton of stuff in here. What I'm going to do first here is I'm going to show you how filters work. And filters are a big deal in Wireshark because it helps you like see traffic as it goes. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to hit DNS and hit enter. And as I hit DNS, you'll see here protocol here changes and all of them say DNS. These are all the websites that this computer has been looking at. I want to find that it315.girlsgeekout. And it's going to be hopefully down, there it is right there. All right, so we've got this one. Notice here we can see that says standard query, standard query. There's a few of these here. We actually want the standard query response. Now, I don't know if you remember from when we set this up, this IP address here, this is the IP address of our DNS server. So that's where all the lookups go. And again, we're going to see the response here. So I want to see the response. I'm going to click this one. There's a couple of things in here. I'm not going to get into how DNS works, but this one tells me the IP address of Girls Geek Out. And I can actually expand down here. This is how you sort of investigate a packet. I'm going to open that by clicking down. I'm going to open the answer by clicking down and open this one and just double check. And this has a lot, like it's sort of written out in a verbose way, but I just want you to get used to expanding stuff out. This IP address is the one we need. Now, if I need to copy something, I can right click on it and hit copy. Notice it has description field name value. This time I can get the value. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to type. I just want to see all the traffic that went to and from that IP address. So notice here I've got IP address equal. This is kind of fun. IP address double equal sign just means I want to do one, like equal to that number. This not equal, the exclamation mark equal means not equal. I'm going to hit double equal though, and I'm going to right click here and hit paste, and it should just do that value because there it is. We're very excited here. Now here is just the traffic to that IP address. Now I'll tell you right now, like here's your TCP handshakes and a bunch of other stuff. One of the things that's not going to happen right here is this TLS because there's actually no secure thing on there. What I do want to see though is down in here. I can see this HTTP and it says get such and such. You can see HTTP get such and such, or that's the reply. I'm still looking for more gets. I need to find the one, and this is the one I want to see. Here's the cool one. If you look, let me just show you here. If I look at this one, where is my response? HTTP 200, okay. I can look at this where it says line-based text data, and I'm going to expand this. This is actually the form, but in HTML. So here it was where type your first name and last name. Here's where I had it. Here's the thing that made the box I typed it into. And then here's where the button came from. When I actually type it in, it goes into this packet. And what happens is my computer actually sent the server a message that said, hey, give me /index with a question mark, first name equal Russell Haynes, last name equal Haynes. Let me show you it in here. That's actually right there. You can see it up here. One of the things you'll notice here is obviously this isn't private at all. It's completely public. And in fact, it's so public here that I can actually look at the files that were transmitted via HTTP if they were in normal HTTP. Notice I told you TLS, that's the encrypted stuff. HTTP is not. Let me just show you over here. If I go to export objects, HTTP, there might be some in here. A bunch of text plain. I'm looking for a picture and I don't see one, but we'll just not worry about it. So like here's the IT 315 Girls Geek Out. If we look at that, it'll show us various things. Okay, but I just want you to have your head around it here that Wireshark, at least from a capture standpoint, can capture all the traffic that goes over a network. The one we're going to look at here for this tutorial, where we're doing Wireshark examining I'm just going to close this one. Examining TrickBot infections. This one is we already had a capture that we've saved. All right, just to remind you, I've already downloaded this. Let me zoom this back out. I've already downloaded this PCAP file here. And a PCAP file, again, is if I go here and I say File, Close, it'll say, do you want to save them? And if I hit Save here, these will be PCAP files. In fact, here I can do a very traditional PCAP file. A PCAP NG is the Wireshark version of it. TCP dump is like a very standard version of a network capture file, packet capture, PCAP. So I'm hitting cancel. I'm gonna do this again. Oops, I'm gonna continue without saving this time. And oops, did I start a new capture? I did. I didn't want a new capture. Let me close this. I'm closing the filter. That's, by the way, I cleared the filter right there. I want to just open now. I'm gonna open from my computer. Well, let's do this the easier way. I'm gonna go to my File Explorer, and notice here it already has a little icon for a Wireshark capture file, and if I double click this, it's going to open it in Wireshark. But notice we get 2 windows of Wireshark now. I can just close this one because I don't need it anymore, and I just quit there without saving. And here is my example of it's not my example, this is my TrickBot tutorial. So I'm going to walk through my TrickBot tutorial with you, and we'll see how exciting this is. I'm zooming that over to the side, and I don't know, just a vague look at this. I can see that there's a couple of, well, mostly one IP address here. I guess there's a little bit to this couple other things, but most of the traffic, it looks like it's just from a few IP addresses. All right, so here, let's look. Going into here. Now we're at Wireshark TrickBot infections, lovely executive summary. So this little explanation here is that normally a TrickBot infection is done. Let me get that out of the way if I can. There's my keyboard thing. Why does it do that? Okay, there it goes. Okay. Most of the time, TrickBot, and this applies to just about any sort of malware your users are likely to get. They'll get a malicious email, they'll get some sort of link from the email, or there will be some file in the email that they then somehow are tricked to download and extract. Then usually the extraction process is actually where they download the actual virus. So up here, this would still be considered malware, this downloaded zip archive with in this case, it's a TrickBot infection, which is an extracted shortcut. And then anyway, it downloads this other malware that then leads us to some post-infection activity. So this is very exciting. If we looked at newer stuff, the process is more or less the same, like I said. So here we go. First thing they do is let's look in Wireshark, and now I'm going to sort of switch over to where I'm using another screen so I can just see what's going on and what they want to do. Now, they do have a basic filter, and the person who makes this likes to do http.request. Let me just put in an http.request. I'm taking out the parentheses that they have there. http.request will show me any, do you see here the HTTP? So anything that happened in HTTP and a request. And HTTP, the request things are get, post, and rarely you'll see a header and this search. I don't even know what that is, or I can't think of what it is right now. I'd have to look it up. But anyway, an HTTP request is sort of the initial connection that a client makes to a server. They also put in here some handshake stuff, or ssl.handshake.type. Then they put 2=1. This is one of the initial setups of an SSL handshake. And these are the sort of, this is where really the certificates happen. You'll notice, by the way, that this little line changed to yellow. Oh, and it gives us the message of why. SSL is depreciated in favor of TLS. Okay, so SSL is what the old people, not old people, I'm one of these people, what old people call TLS now. And TLS is the proper term. Transport layer security is what we call it. SSL, if those of you on a history lesson, that's called secure sockets layer, and that dates from like 1993 or something. And I don't think it's been called SSL since, what are we on? TLS version 1 was late 90s. Anyway, it's been a long time, so Wireshark is finally telling us, don't use SSL, you're naughty. right? And then the next thing in here, notice here we have request or TLS handshake. So it's showing us all this stuff. You can put parentheses around things. And in this case, they put a more of a parentheses here, and then they say and. They do like to say a not. They don't want an SSDP. I don't know what SSDP was for, but we'll take that off too. And this is their standard sort of like what they want to look at for stuff. Okay. So here's the common stuff. What we're looking for is a IP address check. We actually should be able to see in here where they downloaded this stuff. Where's that going to be? That's right there. Let's see what else is in here. I'm just going to scroll through. There's several things we're going to see in here. Okay, this looks okay. Where's the IP address check? All right, we'll find that later. All right, so we're looking for an IP address check, some SSL traffic over some weird ports. So one of the things here I'm actually going to do is put in the port, and here's how we do that. What am I going to tell you? For the most part, time is pretty useless, except they like time. Also number, they don't really like number either. But I'm going to add in here the port. So I'm going to right click in the bar. Oops, and I want to, where do I do this? I want to do view, and I want to do, oh funny, let me just find port. Here's the fast way to do it. Let's find this, and we need to find the port number. I'm actually just going to drill into the TCP. See how it says source port, destination port? I'm going to drill into here. For some reason, they like using the destination port. So destination port's right here. If I right click on this and say apply as column, then it will add the destination port to my list. And I think in their thing, they like having it next to the destination. So we'll scooch it over to destination port. In the view that you see in this, let me show you. In the view here, they have time. They put DST, port, host. I don't recommend sort of messing with that too much, because notice there's also a source port, and you do want to have that left there. So I'm leaving this sort of big with more of the stuff in here. I didn't end up sorting it by there, but that looks just fine. What else do we need? Oh, host. Host is a fun one too. While we're here, let's get host. Host is also available in our traffic. That's not in the TCP though. That's in the HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And what we want is host right here. So I right click here and apply that as a filter. Oops, sorry, as a column. What am I doing here? Host. And host then, they like host to be next to port, and that's great. We'll just put it right there. Okay. And I think that looks pretty good. I think I can still see what I need. The really only useless one on here is length, I would say. But yeah, I think I'll just leave it. Okay, looks good. All right, so again, we're looking for IP address check. We're looking for HTTP traffic over weird ports. The standard port for TLS is 443, and we see one here over 447 and over 449. That's kind of weird. And we also see HTTP traffic over 8082, also weird, okay? We do worry about HTTP requests for a PNG file. Let me find one of those like these. We're looking for some of those that contain executables. That's a pretty typical way in the old days of disguising that you had a virus. So we'll worry about that one in a minute. All right, so here's the weird part of this. So unique to this one is a request to djchristian.com that returned a zip archive, and an HTTP request that is to, it's right here, this DJ Christian. That has a zip archive in it that we're weird about, and this one in here is also a weird thing, because we'll see in a minute that this actually contains an executable file. So let's see. Oh, this is fun. So we get to see, here's how you see. This zip file we're not very happy about. I'm going to right click here and click follow TCP stream. And this gives me the TCP stream on here. Now what we don't like about here is that this is an application/zip. And one of the funny things here is this one doesn't match the version that they show in the thing, but that's fine. Here's a zip file that we're not very happy about. By the way, you can also see, or you're supposed to be able to see, where is that? Let me double check. Did I hit the right thing? I'm going to go over here. I can actually hit this and slip back to my thing I was at. Hit enter. And I was in the right thing. And I'm really interested that it doesn't show the right thing. So we'll be annoyed at them for that. But it doesn't show the actual thing. But it does definitely say an applications.zip. All right, there's another trick to this too. I can't remember that one, but we're just going to go. Is it this one? No. I was trying to remember how to go back up to the previous filter. All right, so there's that one. We are going to go ahead and look for this file. Since this file's in here and it's from dchristian.com, if I go to Files and I export objects and hit HTTP, in my menu, you can actually see it right here. Sometimes these get too long, and so I might put DCH and sort of there it is. And just like I was telling you before, all of this stuff in here is like, it's actually what was in there. So if we want to see what Samerton is, I can open up this file. Do we feel like seeing what that is? Let me see what that is. I'll save it to there. And while I'm at it, I'm going to save DJ Christian. Oh, whoops. Haha, that's fun. Let me do this one too so we can show you that it freaks out on this one too. There's this zip file and I hit save. This one should also be alerted that it may not. Let's see. And I'm going to flip back. Notice that Samerton thing got messed up. Here's that zip file. So if I right click this and say 7-zip extract here, it says it's a virus. All right, notice before, as it blinks away, or it hasn't blinked away yet, that's actually a link, the LNK file, that invoice and statement, and that actually would have linked to another thing. And let me just show you now. For now, let's just understand, yes, we did definitely find a virus, okay? So we'll worry about what we do with these viruses in a minute. So that's a very naughty file. Oh, now we need to, we're going to check, or in order to check whether these are actually viruses, what we need to do is actually go into Windows Defender. So I'm going to type here Defender. And we're going to go into, I don't want Windows Defender Firewall, I want the Windows Defender settings. And in here, I need to make a folder that is not going to be scanned. So I'm clicking here, Virus and Threat Protection. I'm going to go to, where was it? Is it Virus and Threat Protection Settings? I think it's under here. I keep clicking on various stuff. I'm going to scroll down here. There it is. I need to add or remove exclusions. Let me just walk you through it again. So I went to Defender. I went to Virus and Threat Protection. I went to Virus and Threat Protection Settings. I hit Manage Settings. I scroll down and I hit Add or Remove Exclusions. And I need to add an exclusion here. And I'm going to exclude an entire folder. Right? And just for kicks, we're going to put it in the Downloads folder. And I'm going to actually create a new folder. And I'm going to name this QUARANTINE. Okay. And I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to select folder quarantine. And now it says C:\user CIS admin download /quarantine. All right, now I should be able to go back here. I should be able to file, export objects, HTTP, and be able to save this file to my quarantine folder and have it not freak out on me. Now if I hit close and I switch over into here, you know, it's there. Well, I mean, now you're saying, oh, that other one was already there. Let me delete this one really quickly. If we go into here again, I'm going into quarantine. I'm going to right click on here and do 7-zip, extract here. And this time the file will not freak out on me. Like Windows Defender isn't going to alert me, and then we're ready to go. Because what we want to do now is I'm going to show you how you check whether a virus is a virus. And there's two ways to do it. Here's the long way, which I don't know, it's fine. Notice here I'm in C:users CIS admin, and I need to get to downloads/quarantine. dir is the command you have for listing the contents of a directory. This is what you would do if you don't know where you're going and you need to see. I'm going to hit cd because I want to go to the downloads directory. So I hit space and I type downloads. Okay. Now the command prompt changes to C:\users\CSadmin/downloads. If I dir in here, here's the contents of all that. I want to get into quarantine here. So I need to cd space quarantine. And now we're in here. I can dir this. And there's the one. I really want to check invoice and statement, and we'll just do that right now. I actually just realized I'm supposed to be in PowerShell to do this. Rats. All right, we're going to go back. Let's just close this out. I forgot you have to do this one in PowerShell, and it's actually pretty annoying, but it's fine. Somebody tell whoever. Yeah, I want PowerShell. You don't want the ISE, you want PowerShell. All right, PowerShell is like a super command prompt. I still can do dirs and cds, so there's dir. I need to go to cd download, and I'm actually going to, yeah, we'll just do it the long way. Cd quarantine, oops, cd quarantine, if I can spell something right. Now that I can see that everything's in there. What I need to do is get, let me just double check the file hash. And what I do is I type, they're telling me it's get dash file hash, and then I put in the file. Get file hash space, and then I have to type invoice, oops, and statement.lnk. Okay, there's the file hash. Notice it says SHA-256. This is what I want, is the SHA-256 hash of it. And what I can do now is I actually copy this. So I'm selecting the whole thing. I'm going to right click on, oops, select it all. Come on, people. There we go. Oops, why doesn't it want to copy? I think I just need to type Command C or Control C. I'm going to hit Control C. Let's just check if it copied it right. Then I go over here and I go to virus total. You can go to virustotal.com. And what I do is I need to do a search. And here, notice it says URL, IP address, domain, or file hash, and that should have my file hash in there. Yes. Now if I hit search on the file hash, it will tell me whether or not this is a virus. And it is. 38 out of 61 vendors flag it as a virus. A few of these don't, and some of them kind of suck at it, but that's fine. If they don't, like, you got problems. But notice, where's the Microsoft one? Is it in here? Trend Micro. Oh, funny. Anyway, here's all the people that say this is a bad thing, and it's definitely a bad thing. I mean, we wouldn't be messing with it if we were. So this is how you check if it's a virus. You can also check, so if I go back and I hit where it says choose file, you can actually upload the file itself. So I'm going to go into quarantine. I'm going to do the zip file just for kicks and hit open there. It will, you don't notice in the back, it went really quickly, but it does compute the hash anyway, and it does basically the same analysis. So even, the unpacked version is found as a virus, and the zipped version was also found as a virus. So we got plenty of reasons to think that that someone downloaded a virus. And this helps us, by the way, when we're analyzing the traffic, is just to see what did they get infected with. All right, next one we're up to is we're going to look at this 144.91.69.140 or 195. I'm going to right click on this one again. See how it says get/solar.php? PHP, by the way, should return just a normal, like a script file. But if I right click here and hit follow TCP stream, what we actually end up seeing is this MZ is a thing, but here's the real big thing. This program cannot be run in DOS mode. This is something that's added by a compiler that basically says, this is not a PHP file, it's actually a Windows executable. So that's no good, right? So even though I asked for getSolar.php, it is actually sending me an executable here. So come on, people, that's terrible too. Now for grins, by the way, we can just go back and do the same process. So I'm going to hit close here. I'm going to go back up to this other one. I like clicking. Oops, I keep putting the SSL handshake one. Where's TLS? There it is. Make it all pretty. And I'll do file, export objects, HTTP. And this time you can also look by the file name. So I can type solar, and there's solar right there. I can save that. This time again, we go into quarantine and save it. Then I can go, let me close that. We're going to flip back over to our virus total. And we're very excited to try another one. And I'm not seeing the easy, quick way to do that, but we'll just hit choose file, and we'll hit solar, and we'll hit open. And this found it also. So we got all kinds of malware that's running along in here. So what is that going to be? So there's sort of two clues of malware. One is that zip file, and the other one is an executable hiding itself as a graphic. So that's interesting. All right, some of the other fun stuff to see in here, I'm going back to Wireshark. A couple of other kind of cutesy things is this this traffic that's over the wrong ports. So we are going to say here, so we're looking in here. Here was the main executable. There are several IP addresses that sort of get run through in here. And just one of the ways you look at this is to, let me find one of these. We're actually going to go change this up here. Now we can look at this one. So you see this port 447. Let me see if I can just see it in here. I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to do a follow TCP stream. Okay. And notice here, this is pretty normal that it's just stuff because it's encrypted. That's encrypted stuff. One of the problems about encrypted is we don't like it. I'm going to hit close here. We're going to go into here where it says server hello. I'm going to right click here or just open it up. Let's zoom into this one. I'm going to zoom into here, and I'm going to go to the certificate. And usually what happens with these is they have a weird certificate stuff on it. Let me see. What are they doing here? I'm going to go to the issuer. I'm going to open this up. And what you can see is the really big one here is that the common name equals example.com. And that's like, come on, people. What's the other one they did here? Let me see this one. The one in 449. Let me go back up here. back into the TLS one. They did in the 449 one, they followed this stream. I'll just do this one really quickly. I'm following the whole stream because that gets me, I'm just hitting close again, and this gets me the stream that happened. And so we need to find the server. Hello, where is it? There it is. And if we go into here, they were into the, oops, we don't need this stuff. Oh, let's go down. This one, somehow they got country name AU, and I love this, state or provenance name equals some state, and then this is Internet Widgets Pty Ltd. Anyway, this is basically a fake certificate. One of the things you'll get very rarely is your intrusion detection system can find these, and it'll ping up of like, hey, this is a weird thing here. I guess we want to also just double check. There's one in here that's actually 443. Let me go back up to this, and let's just look at what a normal secure or a TLS certificate should look like. Which one do I care about here? It probably is. Oh, there's the one for Microsoft.com. Let's follow this TCP stream. And again, I'm just going to close this too. So I want to find the server stuff. Where's our server stuff? There's the server stuff. That one? No. Server. Is it this one? Yeah, here we go. So here's how they, like Microsoft does theirs. Country name US, Washington, Redmond, Microsoft Corporation, Microsoft IT, common name. This is their certificate authority. By the way, there's not much extra in here. Yeah, I mean, let's do that. Okay, so that's what a normal one looks like. And they're sort of saying, yeah, this is normal stuff. All right, next one. These are fun. All right, let's go back to our baseline thing. I'm switching back to our handshake again. One of the things they notice here is this very first packet. This is actually a request. MSFT NCSI is actually a way for the infected file to figure out what their IP address is. And actually, oh, it's right here. This ident.me. Let me just show you here. Oops, so how to do this. And this will tell you what your IP address is. And the thing you might notice, you don't really notice that here. Let me just note over here. I'm just going to type ipconfig. This machine is actually on a private IP address range, 10.0.0.41. But I don't know if you remember, we were talking about being on NAT. The NAT settings for this, they share the IP address 172.171.79.172. This kind of information is useful to the virus person, the person that infected you, because now they know your actual IP address, and they want to be able to recognize you when you, I don't need to highlight that. When your computer checks in, they want to be able to like connect back into you and know like who you are. They got to keep track of who's infected, and so that's just one of the other indicators. Like most people don't really check their IP addresses like that, and we'll go at it here. Okay, a couple more. We're gonna do the weird stuff. So here's the one of the 8082. These are actually no good. Let me just, we're gonna follow this stream too. By the way, 8082 is not a standard port number for HTTP traffic. It usually means you're in a virus. So the other thing about this is this back at the end where it says 81 or 83 and then 81 again, this is the what we call the exfil or the exfiltration traffic. This is the virus itself sending up information from the computer to everybody else. And let me just see if I can find it in here. It should be right here. No. Go down here. Is it doing everything I want? I think this is more than, let me just see. We'll do a right click here and we'll do a follow HTTP stream. And this is exfil. So one of the exfils here, you'll see this is form data, and this is someone named Randy Bachman, and this is actually their password, and it's the password for connecting to NewYorkTimes.com. Okay, that's pretty crazy. This probably means it's a Chrome password. I can close this. That was the 81. If I go back and do this one that's the 83, there's usually lots of extra information in these. I'm a little disappointed you can't just get into these in here. Okay. I mean, I'm zooming this down because I just feel like it. Okay, we're going to look at the 83. I'm going to right click here and do a follow. By the way, it doesn't matter HTTP or TCP, honestly. If I hit TCP, this is, again, something else going on here. We're doing some form data with the username, Randy Bachman. There's some bill info, and anyway, somehow this, yeah, we're here at a different server. And so this is more, potentially more information they're trying to get out. Let me just make sure of what we want to see. That's really the scary one. Yeah, we already got the Randy Bachman New York Times data, and it would have had, oh, this one's a good one. We need to look at the one that's /90. So I'm going to go back up. There's plenty of these in here that have fun information. Where's the one that ends with a slash? There's one. This is a fun one too. If I right click on this one, I'm going to follow. Let me see if a TCP, yeah, it shows up just fine. This is another exfil. So this is the attacker, like they've infected this person's computer and now they want to know what's going on the computer. This where it says system process, this is all the open applications on the computer. There's some data about the person's computer. So this is Bachman BTO PC, operating system they're running, I mean, complete versions, everything else. You hopefully understand this is a lot of stuff that a hacker would find useful. They also get an IP config, just like we did over here, except they put all on it. And let me just show you, all is not much different. I think we did this in the last exercise too. All gives you like the information about every adapter on the computer. But here it has things like, you know, the MAC address if they need it. Here's an IP address here. Remember, this is the private IP address. They're going to see that they have a router. This also helps them in ways to like find other computers they might try to infect. Netconfig workstation shows what domain they're on. The net view is what's going on the server, on the network. It doesn't look like they're getting a lot in there. But anyway, this is all kinds of very useful information. All right, what else? Do we like this one? No, we've already looked at that. All right, we do think about the PNG. I'm going back into here. I'm going to hit back to my TLS handshake. Anytime we see a PNG file, we're just going to guess that it's probably malware. So Solar PHP was one. Here's probably going to be another one. So if I follow this, and again, it doesn't matter if you follow TCP or HTTP. And notice here, here's sort of the smoking gun. This program cannot be run in DOS mode. And that's very unfortunate. And by the way, this might have stayed here. Nope. Let me go back up into here. Thank goodness, it's getting to be a lot of stuff. I can't remember how to do that one? No. Just put this back in. I'm gonna go parentheses HTTP. I lost my list. Now I'm blind. All right, we're gonna not worry about the rest of these. So all those can't run in DOS mode. You're gonna look through another one, which is where, oh no, we're not. I think that's good. I'm gonna show you a couple of more things in here that you actually need to know. One of them is, we kind of know, let me put in here the request of HTTP. We kind of know who this is, that it's, just from the exfil we can see who this was, let me just follow this stream. We can see that this looks like it's Randy Bachman, but we can't be sure. There's a couple of ways to find these out. And let me show you a couple. NBNS stands for NetBIOS name string. These are how you find out the names of workstations on a network. And so here where it says refresh NB Bachman BTOPC, I'm going to open up my NetBIOS name, and I'm going to go into the additional records and actually get into the name here. And I think this one should work. Let me double check. It's not that one. If I right click here and I hear apply as column, I don't know if I like that one. But this is who it is registering the computer. So now, let me take off NBMS. If I put an HTTP, it'll have the name in here, but it's not really showing it anyway. Let me just put, well, we'll just go back to NBMS. If I was paying attention to, let me put the request in here. We already decided DJ Christian. So if we notice here, we have 10.9.25.101. And if I type in here 10.9.25.101, kind of the cool thing, oops, ipb.eddr. What am I doing? ip.addr, 2 equal signs. My goodness, why can't I do this stuff? Okay, don't forget the ip.addr. Hit enter. And here I can see the traffic going by, and using this I may be able to find out the name of this computer. So it's Bachman BTOPC, and we're very excited by that one. Let me just make sure another one here. We'll do one more. Sometimes, and I don't know if that'll be in this traffic, we need a thing called Kerberos. This is to find out the name of the user that logged in, and there is no Kerberos traffic here. Let me just double check. There's a third way they like to do hosts. So we're going to get in here. I don't want to do DHCP. No, we might as well. Let me just show you DHCP. Is that going to be on here? Oops. DHCP is the traffic for getting an IP address. And I'm just going to double check here if it has the host name. Yeah, and so you may want to use this. Let me just right click here and I can apply that as a column. And that would be another way, if you're wondering what the host name of that computer is, this would be a way to do it. So DHCP is definitely a decent option. What do they got? The other one, NBNS, we're all over. I'm just looking through, by the way, at the very bottom of this. Let me just show you here. At the very bottom of this tutorial, we've gone through everything in here. And I'm going down to the very bottom. And I'm just making sure, because they don't walk you through the part of identifying who's on the computer. And so by the way, we didn't do Inbotet. You can do that on your own. We did this using Wireshark, identifying hosts and users. And make sure if you're ever at a point where you're thinking, hey, I'm wondering how to get into a user, these are the ones we're using here. So there was DHCP, which is one we just did. There's DHCP. NBNS, we already did that one. And that one's also pretty exciting. That's an interesting one. Huh. That's hilarious. What? That's pretty funny. You can totally just get you want to see that? Let's see the user agent. You don't need all that stuff, by the way. I don't know why he did. He didn't just do http.request. This means it's unencrypted anyway. And so if you look here, if I just right click, actually I don't need to look there. I can just go to, where is it? I have a proper user agent? Let me do a follow. We do a follow, and again, it doesn't matter HTTP or TCP. They didn't really get a good, yeah, that's fine. They didn't get this full user agent string. Let me just see. That's really weird that none of these have that. Let me go back here to HTTP request. It's most of this, almost all of this, in fact, is just, it's kind of fakey traffic, honestly. Because user agent, Microsoft NCSI, anyway, they didn't. It's too bad I didn't do mine. I guess I could do it right now. I'm not going to. All right. You can worry about that as you go for getting from the user agent. I really wouldn't get into that. The last one I want to do, we did. Kerberos, and there wasn't any Kerberos traffic on here. And so unfortunately, let me just double check that it's not. I wish it, oops. What happened to me? Right, we're going back to Kerberos. Kerberos dot. You actually want the CNAME string. And like I said, there's no Kerberos traffic in here to see. And so we can't do that, and that's really unfortunate. Because it's fine. You usually just do the identifying it as there. Let me just try this one. The last one they're listing is LDAP. So they're doing LDAP here, and there's no LDAP traffic in here either. And so I'm not gonna worry about that. That's kind of dumb. All right, I think we're good here. All right, so I'm gonna leave this one here. I'm gonna note, I'm just gonna flip back over here, that there's actually several segments to my students doing the assignment. There's this Steal Coffee exercise. This file is the one down here, this 20200424. These I walk you through. So here's where it says, here's what you need to do. This one walks you through it. And in fact, I do have CNAME string here and NBNS. I don't know if we're feeling it. Do we feel it? I think I'm feeling just popping this open. Let me save this file really quickly to my downloads folder. And I'm gonna open that one up just because I want to make sure in here you can see, let me scroll back up. NBNS, we already showed you that, but I'm gonna show you the Kerberos name string because that one's kind of a hassle. So here we are in the traffic analysis exercise. This one actually has Kerberos. And I do CNAME string. And then we have these three. Now, in order to, you have to actually find it in here. So I drill into Kerberos. I think it's in here. REQ body, where is it gonna be? There's CNAME right there. CNAME string, that's the one we want. So if I right click this and apply that as column, this is how I find out the usernames in there. I'm gonna actually, for a second, anyway, that's fine. All right, so that's where these Kerberos CNAME strings, here's some stuff there, okay? Then I want you on your own to complete Cat Bomber. And you may have to do it either with NBNS or Kerberos to find out the count names in there. You can also look, remember we had those x/81 files for exfiltrating stuff, and you should be able to find that okay too. So this is the end of this assignment, or not assignment, this is the end of this walkthrough. As always, if you have questions, you can contact me, and yeah, good luck.